What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special edition of Degens United here. As we tweeted out earlier, as I promised you guys, we have a full UFC 252 preview today. I want to thank my guest for coming on, our resident UFC expert, the Mr. Mike Agustino, Mike Capitano. What's up, Capitano?
What's up, PTB Nation? What's up,
How we
Leo?
feeling today?
I'm feeling good. We got UFC today. That's always a big deal when we get UFC. One sport I love about UFC, you don't even notice that there's no fans there. When the fights are good, you don't even notice.
Yeah, man, that was the first thing that we did. The first pay-per-view that they had while we were still watching Belarusian soccer and Russian ping pong.
Ping pong.
Yeah, we were streaming it together, and we were like, "Wow, look at that! You don't even notice that nobody's there."
it's if you're a real MMA fan, it's even better because you can hear the coach's instructions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun. Pretty interesting card tonight. You pretty fired up?
I'm fired up. We got a heavyweight championship fight that's going to be one for the ages. Two legends in there, and many people believe whoever wins is going to go down as the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Sign me up. I love seeing the big boys swinging at each other. It's something just so amusing about watching two big men trying to kill each other. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's something that's been missing from MMA, wouldn't you say? I mean, boxing, it was always the heavyweights, and that was always the draw, was who the it was Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. MMA hasn't really had that type of draw, but I think we got two greats in there today. And, you got a Francis Ngannou coming up the pipeline. I think the UFC is going to turn him into a mega star. And
that dude is a machine. I think on the last fight too.
Yeah, the heavyweight division's in good shape for quite some time now.
Yeah, man, it's good. But the problem is, I was looking at the card, and it kind of looks like they slacked off a little bit. They know how big this fight is going to be. They know that they don't really need to include a bunch of other really, really quality fights on the card in order to sell the pay-per-views.
Right.
So, I was taking a look here, especially in the prelims. The prelims are pretty weak. You guys are going to hear us go over it. We only have one pick each in the prelims.
Yeah.
The main card, we got 4 picks, I believe, each. We're just going over it. So, yeah. So, very exciting stuff. You want to dive right in, man?
All right. We going right to the main event? Or you want to start from the bottom up?
No, we're going to start from the bottom up. We're going to make our listeners sweat. That's how I do.
All right.
On Degens United, I make sure that we go over the soccer, the tennis. You guys got to suffer first. You guys got to listen to my soccer rants before we get on to the good stuff.
To the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, man. All right, let's go ahead. Let's break it down. So, like I said, prelims, very weak prelim card. Not a huge fan of anything here. Now, I do have one fight that I'm a fan of. You guys are going to see me tilting to the left. That's just because we have 2 computer screens up right now.
As do I over here.
Yeah, so, guys, that's why we're going to switch over. Now, the one that I looked at that I was a huge fan of was Werner. I'm going to mess up this name. It's Jaidiorabora. Yeah, that person.
Jandiroba. Yeah, Jandiroba.
There we go. She's fighting Felice Herrig tonight. Now, Felice Herrig, she is only known because of her best friend. I am not a huge fan of her. She is not very good in the ring. This woman, Verna, she is an absolute stone-cold killer. She has 15 professional fights. She has 12 wins by submission. Now, Verna is a big favorite. For those of you that listen to the Degens United podcast, you know I don't like laying huge favorites. You'll find out that Capitano does. But it's okay. We don't judge here. We're here to winners. So the play here for me is not going to be Verna on the money line because it is minus 313. Way too much juice to tickle my twine. But I'm actually going to go with Verna by submission here, plus 220. Again, she's finished 12 of her last 15 fights by submission. Felice is not very good. She's not great on the ground. I really, really like this play. There's a lot of value there at that plus 220. I know a lot of people expected to go the distance, which could be a problem, especially maybe in the 3rd round. As we were discussing earlier, things are going to be a little difficult to grapple on and, lock something up. But honestly, I could see Verna finishing this fight off in the 1st round with a big-time submission. So, Verna by submission, she is my pick for the prelims.
And, Felice has made a career of, not to use a pro wrestling analogy, but she puts the talent over, essentially. She's got a lot of people beat her and ascend up the card. She's best known, like you said, for being Carla Esparza's best friend on that season of The Ultimate Fighter, where we had the women's strawweight division. Carla Esparza, of course, the first UFC women's strawweight champion, and Felice was she got airtime being her best friend that whole season all the way to the final. But yeah, she hasn't had any real big wins in her career since coming to UFC. She had a background as a Muay Thai fighter professionally, but a lot of times she finds herself on her back defending the submission. And as you said, Jandiroba she's got a history of submitting people, and she's got a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background, and I don't see much hope for Felice Herrig in this fight either.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this was a tough one because I really, as many of you know, if you listen to the podcast again, I'm not a huge UFC guy. I enjoy the sport. I just don't know the ins and outs of it very much. But I do know a good amount of it to kind of make these sort of predictions. So I looked at this one. I looked at the numbers. I am an analytics guy. And her to win by decision is currently listed at even money. That just doesn't get me too excited. I like the possibility of her finishing this off in submission because of the stats. So plus 220 offers a lot of value for us here. So that is my first official play at UFC 252. Again, prelims. And also, we do want to mention the times that they're scheduled for. This one is scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern time. Now, Capitano, I know you have a pick as well in the prelims. What you got for me?
Yeah, I got the prelims main event, okay, the final fight that's on for free, essentially, on ESPN. I've got Jim Miller going against Vink Pichell, and my selection is for it to go the distance at minus 115 to win 1 unit. Jim Miller is a veteran. He's just a consummate professional. He's got an overall MMA record of 32 wins, 14 losses, and 1 draw. 13-1 in UFC, to be exact. 36 years old, like we said, and he just has only been stopped. He's only been stopped 5 times. He's been submitted 3 times, and he's been knocked out twice in his entire career. That's 45 fights. So there's good odds there that he's not getting knocked down, no matter what kind of power this guy, or not getting knocked out, excuse me. Vince Pichell comes to this fight with the power to knock it out. But it does say here, and I'm reading a review from DraftKings, and I tend to agree with it. Pichell is 12-2 in MMA, but 5-2 in the UFC. So both of his losses came in the UFC. And only one of those fights was with the stoppage. His only 2 losses have been to map-based wrestlers. Jim Miller's map-based fighters, excuse me. Jim Miller's a wrestler, so naturally, if this turns into a wrestling match, it's going to be very hard for Miller to get stopped. Yeah. So he may not win the fight, but I expect this fight to go to the distance.
Yeah, it's pretty safe odds. I like it, minus 115. I was kind of trying to price this one out. We were talking earlier. I would have priced it out at around minus 150, not 115. So, I mean, really good value there. I really like the play, Capitano.
Yeah.
So, let's go ahead. Let's move on to the main card, man. The meat and potatoes.
It's time.
It's time. Oh, man, I wish that sounded as cool as Bruce Buffer. All right, what's the first fight that we got going on in the main card?
We got bantamweight John Dodson versus Marab Chevilli.
All right, how do you feel about this one? Got any leans? Got anything that tickles you?
Okay, so, I mean, Dodson comes in at 22-11. This is bantamweight. These are small guys. And Dashvili's 11-4. Dodson, clearly a more experienced fighter. So I don't really have a pick on this one. I stayed away from it, to be honest with you. I couldn't make up my mind either way. But from a fighting sense, you've got a more experienced fighter. Bantamweights, there's a more of a focus on the ground game because the knockout power is typically not there. So you're looking for submissions, and these guys are typically higher skilled fighters in ground tactics. So it all depends. All it takes is somebody to make a wrong move and be in a bad spot, and next thing you know, they find themselves in a triangle or in an armbar, and they're defending a submission for 3.5 minutes in the first round, and now they got to come back and fight 2 more rounds after that. Very hard to do that. It'll depend. We don't know what kind of cardio these guys have either. Training has not been easy, as we all know. We're living with limitations, and a lot of fighters have not been able to assemble their entire teams. So, and a lot of gyms are even closed. A lot of fighters have had to find, makeshift gyms either in their homes, or they've had to, rent out gyms to bring their team in and to train. So, I mean, I stayed away from this fight, unable to pick it, given, the little limited information.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this one. Like you said, Dodson is the more experienced. He's sitting at plus 203. I tend to lean – UFC is one of the sports where I tend to lean against the experience. I like taking the up-and-comers, except for certain situations. So, I mean, that automatically makes me think of Devashel. Jesus Christ with these names. Marab, that's what we're going with. Marab is minus 250. Yep, that's right. We're officially first name basis. Now, like you said, with the bantamweights, they're going to be on the ground a lot. They are highly skilled fighters. Like you said, it can only take one slight movement that could finish the fight. But these guys are usually so skilled that, it doesn't really happen that often. So I did look at the fight going the distance, but the over 2.5 said that minus 293. That match is going to be a hard pass for me. So, yeah, I think we're both going to pass on the first fight of the main card. So which one is the next one?
Now we got a catchweight fight. So for the listeners that don't know what that means, basically Herbert Burns did not make weight, okay? So they agreed on a catchweight of 149.5 pounds, okay? This was supposed to be, I believe, this was supposed to be a bantamweight fight, if I'm not mistaken. But he didn't make weight, and making weight is something actually that's very hard right now, given, like we said, the limitations and the training restrictions. So it's been harder for fighters to make weight. They're taking fights on shorter notice sometimes. So we got Herbert Burns taking on Daniel Pineda at 149 pounds. I've got a little bit of a tail of the tape here. All right, Burns comes into the fight 11-2. He's got an average fight time of 2 minutes and 11 seconds. So he does not waste any time in the octagon. He's 5'9", normally weighing 115 pounds. Both of these guys normally weigh 115 pounds. That's their fighting weight. So they're going to be fighting all the way up at 149.5 pounds. That is a huge difference. They're going to be basically fighting at the weight they walk around in, which fighters don't typically do that.
I was about to say, this is, like we said earlier, this is the first time that I think we're allowed to call a 150-pound man junkie.
Yeah.
a little overweight. I'm a 300-pound man, so, I mean, it's really hard for me to call people overweight. But when you're supposed to be fighting at 115 and you're fighting at 149, that's a tough look, dude.
Yeah, and so Burns is 5'9", Pineda's is 5.7. Pineda's got a 26-13-2 record. He's got 2 no contests, I should say. It's 26-13 with 2 no contests. But Pineda likes to go the distance much more. He's got an average fight time of 8 minutes 19 seconds. Both are orthodox fighters. But here's a big difference I saw here, Leo, is Burns has an average strikes per minute of 6.55 strikes per minute versus Pineda, who's 3.95 strikes per minute. Much more conservative fighter, it looks like. And that tells me that Burns is going to attack this fight, and he's going to go looking for it. I like Burns in this fight. He's at negative 278 to win 1 unit, but I like him. He's got a good takedown defense. Neither guy really a submission artist, but again, taking from the report here on this website that gave a little bit of a preview. Burns is riding a UFC hype train. He's aided in part by the success of his brother Gilbert Burns, who scored 3 first-round submissions under the promotion's banner. Once he faces a fighter with high-level wrestling and jiu-jitsu defense, Burns could get into trouble. It doesn't look like that's what he's up against today. Daniel Pineda, he's 3-4 in his previous run in the UFC, but that was back in 2014. This guy hasn't fought at the UFC level since 2014. He's got a good record overall, but it looks like it's from a time long ago. Pineda's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, however, but he puts himself into vulnerable positions, and the grappling edge, I would still give that to Burns. And, some of the other odds running on it. Burns by submission is at minus 150. And according to DraftKings, that's the most likely outcome. But they're not recommending placing a bet on that. I'm also just going with Burns to win outright at minus 278.
So you bring in a really, really interesting point. I understand why people are going with Burns. Burns should be the favorite. It does kind of have that feel that Pineda is basically just a punching bag for Burns to kind of get his name out there. It's kind of sad because this dude hasn't been in the UFC since 2014, like you said. That being said, the reason that I'm not going to take Burns on the money line is A, it's a big money line. B, it's kind of sort of inflated because word is getting around now to the not necessarily the pink hats, but the less expert people of the UFC that Herbert Burns is the brother of Gilbert Burns, who's been tearing it up, who just came off a huge performance, who the hype train is completely behind right now. So that line is slightly inflated to me. Now I'm looking at Daniel Pineda. I don't have much faith in this dude. I don't see a whole lot of value in the 225 money line. I looked at Burns by submission at minus 135. I do like that. But my play here is going to be the over 1.5 at plus 109. I'm expecting a little nerves here from Herbert Burns. I'm expecting Pineda to really be inspired to show something since he hasn't fought in so long. I love the human aspect of it. I love the psychology behind sports betting and the psychology behind sports. You know that this dude's going to be ticked off. You know that this dude is going to have something to prove, especially after how he flamed out in his last bout in the UFC. So I'm expecting him to hold on just a little bit. Just a little bit. I still like Burns. I still like Burns by submission, but my play here is going to be over 1.5.
I got an interesting stat for you, too, sticking with this fight. It does state here that it's worth noting Burns is the one that missed weight. Okay, he's the one that could not make weight. And fighters who have failed to make weight are on a 3-9 run during the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean,
including a 3-3 record for favorites. So that goes to what you're saying. And again, there's the whole mental aspect of making and not making weight and what that does to a fighter's psyche and what just the toll on the human body is trying to cut, as we can see, 35 pounds and clearly failing to do it. And now going to fight at their normal weight, which is at almost 150 pounds. So
yeah, I mean,
who knows what kind of condition Burns is in. I'm sticking with him though. I think he's got enough to overcome this, but yeah, I can definitely see where the concerns would be laying any money down on Herbert Burns in this one.
Yeah, the other thing about taking the over 1.5 in this fight, it's currently listed at plus 109, so we're getting some really decent odds here. I always love the plus money thing. My philosophy is always I like going 1 for 2. I like banking a little bit of profit on 1 for 2. So as long as this dude, I still think he's going to hold on just enough. I don't expect it to go much longer than over 1.5, but this much. All we need is a few seconds over and we'll be good. All right, so that pretty much covers that fight. Now, let's go ahead. Let's jump up to the next fight here. I'm sorry that it's taken me an extra second because Bookmaker does not have it in order, which would be quite useful.
I've got it here.
Listening, that would be great, guys. Yeah. Great amount of help. But the next one is going to be Junior Dos Santos against Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Yep. Heavyweight.
Another heavyweight fight.
Heavyweight fight.
Can't get enough of the heavyweights, man. No. We love the big boys going at it. This is a super interesting fight, though. Junior Dos Santos, one of the most famous guys. The line right now has Junior at plus 100, so even money. Jairzinho is minus 124 right now. He is the slight favorite. Now, something to remember with this fight is the fact that because Junior Dos Santos is such a big name, all the squares are going to be rolling on Junior Dos Santos. So that Junior Dos Santos line is slightly inflated. So if he wasn't himself and we were just going based off talent and all that stuff, he'd probably be around plus 120. So you're automatically paying, you're losing a little bit of value with the Junior Dos Santos play. But Capitano, tell me who you like in this one.
I'm going with Jairzinho. He's the kickboxer. I think Junior Dos Santos, one of the greats in the sport, but I think he's had his clock cleaned too many times. He's been knocked out several times. Let me pull that up for you and tell you exactly how many times we've got. Okay, so Junior Dos Santos is 20. He's got 28 total fights, 21-7. 5 of those 7 by knockout. So 5 of his 7 losses are by knockout, 1 by submission. He has had some really scary knockouts too. He hasn't just been stopped; he's been knocked out, and I think that I really think that his time in the octagon is kind of past. That ship has sailed, but because, like you said, the name value that he brings to a card, and people will go to the sports book and I remember Junior Dos Santos. I'll put it on him, because they see this other name and it doesn't ring a bell to them, and that inflates, like you said, the line for Junior Dos Santos. But I think Junior's just he's in the twilight of his career. He's 36 years old also, and I think Jairzinho's kickboxing is just going to be too much. He's going to be able to keep Junior at a distance with the kicks, and with heavyweights, it only takes one shot. Yeah. Which makes it like flipping a coin sometimes. But I don't know how much power is left in the hands of Junior Dos Santos. And he could walk right into one of those head kicks, And I just see the kickboxer, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, coming away with the win in this. Yeah, and he's a slight favorite at -124 to win 1 unit.
Yeah, so I like the play too. I completely agree with you. I like to call them the $5 average Joes that are going to walk onto Bovada and be like, "Oh boy, we're in a big fight tonight," And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm by far a huge player. I'm not a huge player. So I don't judge those dudes, but those aren't the guys that move the lines. This is the type of play that we look for: the square versus sharp, the contrarian versus the public. I like Jairzinho as well. I'd like him to win the fight. That's actually a really, really good price at -124. I might dabble on it. Actually, the play that I have written down here, though. So the other thing that I looked at is I enjoy looking at with the UFC props is how are they going to win the fight? So as we talked about here, Junior Dos Santos, he's taken way too many shots to the head. Honestly, it's kind of sad to see him in this state because he was such a superstar. But so I would look at Jairzinho to win by KO, TKO, or DQ. But him on the money line is -124. Him to win by KO or TKO is -110. You're not getting a whole lot of value there. Right. At that point, I'd kind of sort of hedge and take the money line just in case it does go the distance. So the play that I'm looking at here, I wanted to look at the rounds because that's what's going to intrigue me. Now, Jairzinho, I wonder – so I'm not expecting Junior Dos Santos to get knocked out in the first round. I think that he has enough left in the tank to kind of dance around there. I think he'll take a couple shots. I think that he'll barely survive round 1 because, like you said, Jairzinho, he's such a good kickboxer. He has – I really expect him to be like one of those fights for him that kind of catapults him into like the next level and stuff.
Right.
So I don't see him winning this one in round 1, although round 1 is +225. So the play that I'm rolling with here for a unit is going to be Jairzinho to win this fight round 2 at +500. +500, massive odds. Throw down a unit on it. This, as you guys know, I love the dog. So, as long as we hit this one, we're in profit for the rest of the night. So it's great. But, no, I just think that there's a lot of value here. I don't see him. Again, I expect him to tag Junior Dos Santos in the first round, I should say. Second round, I want him to take full control and knock him out cold. So that is going to be my play. We're kind of on the same page here, just different ways of going about it. But I really like this fight as well. Again, this fight is scheduled for 11 p.m. Again, guys, fights vary. This is kind of sort of like tennis. It all depends on when the previous fight ends. But it's currently listed at 11 p.m. Eastern time. So next up, we got the
co-main event.
I was about to say, is this even a co-main event?
Actually, I think it's a 3-round fight. I don't think they're treating it as a co-main event. But yeah.
All right. So, but the fight here is going to be Sean O'Malley, the up-and-comer, the rising star of the UFC, against Marlon Vera. Now, Sean O'Malley currently listed at -284 on the money line, while Vera is +224 on the money line. Interesting over-under here with the over sitting at -1, over 2.5 at -137, under +113. Capitano, how you feeling about this fight, my man?
I guess I'm on the hype train because I've got Sean O'Malley winning this thing. I'm taking the big favorite in this one. 12-0, 10 knockouts. He's just rolled through everybody they've thrown in front of him. Marlon Vera is a good fighter. He's a more seasoned fighter, but I think O'Malley's on the ascend, and I expect him to win by stoppage.
By stoppage, no less.
I think he's going to stop him. Yeah.
You go money line, or you're going to go?
I'm taking the money line, but personally, I think that he's going to stop. He's going to win by stoppage, but I'll stick on the money line minus 289.
You're just playing it safe, man.
I'm playing it safe.
Laying down those units, baby.
Yeah, I'm playing it safe, but from an analytical sense, I won't be surprised if Sean O'Malley stops the fight.
So this is kind of where we differ. Again, I do like Sean O'Malley as well. I'm not in the mood to lay that price, though. Again, it goes against my philosophies here. So the play here for me, I was going back and forth between the KO, the TKO, sitting at plus 150, but I was also looking at the decision, which is plus 150. Now, from what I'm looking at here, it was a tough back and forth for me. Honestly, this is one of those where if you have a big bankroll, my recommendation is lay a little bit. No, you know what? Forget that. I'm rolling with the decision, man. I think that this one's going to go the distance. Sean O'Malley, I know he's won most of his fights by knockout, but the over sitting at minus 137, that kind of indicates to me that they're expecting this one to go a little different, that Marlon's going to be able to mix it up, that he's going to be able to stay in there a little while. I could see O'Malley knocking him out. Wouldn't really surprise me, but honestly, I'm going to roll with the decision at plus 150. Again, it's plus money. We're going to hope for the best on this one. This is something that's kind of a 50-50 to me. It's kind of a coin flip. So if we're going to get plus 150 at a 50-50 shot, I'm perfectly content with those odds. If we lose, then we lose, but we did get good value on this play. So my play here for the co-main event is going to be Sean O'Malley by decision plus 150. Now, it's time. We're at the main event, baby, the one that none of us can wait to watch.
That's right.
We got Miocic and Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier's final fight. This is it for him. The trilogy. These two have split the first two fights. Heavyweights, two of the best ever. I mean, everything that you could hope for in a fight. It is tonight. This fight is going to start around midnight. Also, we forgot to mention the time on the last fight. It should be around 11:25 p.m. Yeah. But we're past that now. So, Daniel Cormier and Miocic, I'm pumped up. You pumped up?
I can't wait. Two greats, absolute great fighters, and two guys, likable guys on top of it. Like, I don't think any MMA fan is going to be upset with whoever wins this fight.
Yeah, man, really. And from a gambling perspective, this is super interesting because the sportsbook kind of feel exactly like how we do about it.
Yeah.
They're basically saying, yeah, this is a 50-50 fight.
Yeah,
we're just
literally.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen? Like we talked about earlier with the other heavyweights with Junior Dos Santos. Heavyweights, one swing changes everything.
That's it.
But this one, the other interesting thing that I found about this is that the over in this fight is going to be over 2.5, but it's actually favored at minus 157. Now, that just kind of indicates to me that this thing is going to be an absolute war. Both guys, this is a legacy fight. This isn't
the strap's on the line, but it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's always a big fight when the belt's on the line. But like I said, this, like we just said, it is two of the greatest heavyweights of all time. This is the type of thing that's the tiebreaker as to who is going to be the best heavyweight ever. You can't really debate if somebody wins 2 out of 3 against the other guy. Yeah. So I mean. Really, really interesting. Who you got in this one, man?
All right, I got DC. I got Daniel Cormier, and I think he's really. I believe him when he says this is his last fight. We hear retirement fights all the time in this sport, and then guys come back. Conor McGregor, yeah. How many times, right?
But in 4 years.
I believe DC is gonna hang him up tonight. And I think he's completely focused. So he has. In the past, when he trains for a fight, he's also a wrestling coach, okay? DC is a former Olympian wrestler. He's also a wrestling coach. He's always coached wrestling through his camps. This time, he stepped away from coaching. He's been only focusing on his fight. This is basically, like you said, this is his legacy fight. He's putting everything he has into it, okay? He has left his family behind, okay? He's gone to train. He's brought in what he calls his brothers. He's brought in Cain Velasquez. He's brought in he's why is the name escaping me now of his other Luke Rockhold, and he says that Khabib Nurmagomedov has also been studying film for him from Russia because Khabib, as you know, is not able to come to the United States right now. But he says he has been communicating with Khabib regularly. Khabib is watching film from the previous 2 fights. He's giving him tips, and the key thing that's come out of Daniel Cormier's mouth here in the lead up is that he said he lost the last fight because Miocic made an adjustment and started to go to the body. He says, and he gave him credit for that adjustment, but he says, you only get to make an adjustment like that once. He goes, this time you're not going to fool me. I'm going to be ready for that. And again, DC is a world-class wrestler. I think he packs a little more power in his punch. I think he has the knockout power, just a slight advantage, even though, Miocic is a great stand-up fighter. I think the power edge does go a little bit to DC. However, Miocic is quite taller. As you could see in the pose down, he's staring right down at him. But had DC really feels had he not made that mistake, and his coach has even said, Javier Vasquez has said that DC's gotten into trouble in his career when he stopped listening to the corner. He started to go on his own. That's what happened in the last fight a year ago, and neither one of these guys has fought in since. Miocic has been a firefighter. He's been dealing, with COVID relief for months. So who knows what kind of fight shape he's in? As admirable as that is, who knows what kind of fight shape he's going to be in? He does have his own personal gym in his house, Stipe does, but we don't know what he's getting as far as getting fighters in to train with him and whatnot. DC's been able to train with Cain and with Luke, and he's named, a bunch of other guys from AKA from his gym out in San Jose. So I really liked Daniel Cormier in this fight. I think he has a little bit more skills, and I agree with him that if he doesn't make a mistake to leave himself open, that he will win this fight, and he'll take the heavyweight title and walk off into the sunset.
So I completely agree with everything that you just said. I think that the training partners is a huge, huge thing. Khabib coming in from Russia, I mean, how you gonna beat that, man?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm looking at this fight. I also like DC. He is a bit of a favorite here at -117. I don't know about you, but this just kind of feels like the culmination of everything in DC's career.
Mm-hmm.
Coming together. It kind of feels like the stars are aligning for this dude.
Yeah.
For one more big fight to show what he's got. Like you said, everything's coming out that he is super focused. It kind of sounds like Stipe. I'm sure that he's preparing correctly, but
yeah,
who knows if he's going to be truly ready for this fight. DC, like you said, Stipe made the adjustment in fight 2. Now DC makes the adjustment in the third fight.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped up to watch it because it's going to be so good. But honestly, it feels like the culmination of DC's career. I feel like that's really been the only storyline. I feel like a majority of people are talking about DC and not necessarily about Miocic. And I'm curious to see how long this is going to go. I was looking at a bunch of the props and stuff, and I'm looking at Cormier to win by knockout. I'm not a huge fan. The other thing that I start to wonder, and I know that this isn't boxing, and I know that there isn't much of a fix, but there is the human element, and, this is kind of a thing where if it does go down to the judges' scorecard, I'm sure that these judges don't live under a rock. DC
there's a sentimental.
Is more involved. Yeah, he's kind of more involved. He's constantly in the UFC. I know that he's an announcer now or commentator, whatever you want to call it.
He's a phenomenal announcer.
Yeah, he's awesome on it.
Actually, he's going to be sticking around as a color commentator. So, fortunately for us, we're going to be listening to DC for a long time after this fight.
I love the fact that DC is going to be there. So, I'm looking at DC. I'm looking at him. I'm picking him to win the fight. I'm picking him on the money line. I don't want to get too frisky on this fight. We got frisky on the other rounds.
Yeah.
You basically picked all winners. I picked pretty much all props, I think.
Yeah.
But that's cool. So DC is my money line pick here. Now, the one that I'm kind of looking at also is potentially DC by decision. That's laying plus 350. That's
Mhm.
really, really good value. Like I said, I think if this thing goes to decision, unless Miocic absolutely dominates the fight, it's going
It's
to be
hard to
tough.
see. It's hard to see Miocic winning a decision because
Yeah,
if it goes the distance, that means there's a lot of wrestling. There's a lot of ground grappling, and you have to give the edge to Cormier in that type of a fight.
right. So, I mean, I'm just looking at this. This is one of those fights that anybody that doesn't want to put a bet on it and wants to just watch it for fun,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
It's
blame you
worth
at
it.
all.
Yeah.
This is going to be dope. This is 100% worth the price of admission. Um, yeah, I mean, DC is my pick. Like I said, if
Yeah.
you want to sprinkle a little something to get frisky on the decision, I don't blame anybody on that either.
Mm-hmm.
So that is our play here. That pretty much wraps up UFC
Yeah.
252, though. So just a quick recap. I got everything written down. Capitano, your picks are Jim Miller and Pichell to go the distance at minus
Mm-hmm.
115. For all these plays are for a unit, by the way.
Yeah. For 1 unit.
So Miller, Pichell to go the distance, minus 115. You got Herbert Burns at minus 220, minus 278 on the money line. Then you got your dude Rosenstruck, minus 124 on the money line. Sean O'Malley, minus 289 on the money line. And then DC sitting at minus 117 on the money line. Now, the head DGen right here, my picks, as always, usually pretty much all underdogs here. We're going with Verna to win by submission at plus 220. The Pineda Burns fight over 1.5 at plus 109. Rosenstruck to win in round 2, plus 500. Huge odds right there. Then we roll Sean O'Malley by decision at plus 150. And then we cap it off with DC to win the fight on the money line, minus 117. Gonna be a pretty good card, man. I'm pretty fired up for it, especially that last fight.
That sells the whole card right there. They could put anything they wanted behind that, and I think people are gonna buy it.
Yeah, seriously. And like we said at the very, very beginning, this is kind of like a weaker prelims, not a whole lot of value on the prelims. The undercard outside of Sean O'Malley and just not a whole lot there. I mean, the Junior Dos Santos fight, okay, maybe. But the other fights, not a whole lot there. They knew what they were doing. They know everybody's going to pay the price of admission for Miocic and Cormier. I don't blame them at all. Should be a pretty good card, though.
I can't wait.
Yeah, what else you got, man? Got any other comments?
No, the only thing, the great thing about that main event, though, again, heavyweights, anybody can land that one punch that ends the fight. So as confident as I am in DC, it won't shock me if it goes the other way. If he lands a hook, and we've seen DC be caught before. John Jones caught him twice. He outfought John Jones, and he got caught with the leg kick, and it was over. So that's my one concern for DC. If I'm putting money on DC, is if he's going to get caught.
Yeah, but hey, man, that's part of it. That's why he's minus 117. Yep. You can say that about literally every fight.
Sure.
But I think that we did a pretty good job. I think that we found a bunch of value on this card. Hopefully we finish the night up some units. All right. So that means this has been an absolute pleasure, Capitano. Plus,
pleasure's all mine.
UFC 252 starts up tonight. Prelims start at 7 p.m. on ESPN, right? 7 p.m.
Is it ESPN or ESPN Plus tonight?
I think the prelims are on ESPN, either ESPN or ESPN Plus. Like I said, prelims suck. Don't worry about those.
Get the main for Jim Miller. That's all.
Hey, don't forget about Verna, baby.
And Verna.
Yeah, Fred Flintstone's gonna be in the crowd. All right, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Just a reminder to follow us on Twitter, the PTB Media Network.
At PTB_media.
Bingo. Thank you. And for us, Degens United, Degens_United. Love me, hate me, doesn't matter. Let me know. Follow me on Twitter, all right? And be sure to check out the website as well, all right? DegensUnited.com. We will be posting all of our picks there. We'll have a link up. We have plenty of value on the rest of the card today as well. So be sure to check it out. That's pretty much it, man.
All right,
Let's go enjoy the night.
All right. Have a good one, Leo.
All right, Capitano.
Peace out, PTB Nation.
Later, PTBs.